but you have major scoring factor, man.
Yeah, we already figured out how that worked. All right, I'm gonna tell it. You brought it up. I was gonna let it go.
Of course, I'm gonna bring it up.
Let it go. I'm gonna bring it up. You brought it up. So Craig starts talking all this shit to me at the match.
Wait. Because when you shot PCC, all you do is bitch about, major scoring factor.
Major scoring factor is bullshit. Welcome to the Tom Castro Shooting Academy podcast. You have now entered the next level. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Tom Castro Shooting Academy Next Level podcast. We are starting this off with my buddy, Mr. Craig McElhaney, the Florida State PCC champion, Mr. 2022 PCC champion. So he got his name added to the big cup. Craig, show off that big cup you got, brother. There you go.
That's it right there. It says traveling trophy, so I don't get to keep it. This is big monstrosity of a cup thing. Kind of cool though.
Yeah,
your name's on
awesome. It's pretty awesome, man. It's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, it is.
Trophy. There's a lot of guys, a lot of good shooters on there on that trophy, winning that trophy. So it was. I gave back my trophy this year. I gave back my Carry Optics trophy and decided to shoot open this year at the Florida State Championship.
Did you bring your trophy, or do you think you were going to keep this one too?
I brought my trophy this time. Actually, I brought my trophy this time. So anybody,
why don't you tell them what happened with that?
So anybody who doesn't know, the last year's match, the Florida State Championship that I went to, I was the PCC champion. And obviously, most of you guys know that follow me that I switched over from PCC to Carry Optics last year. And when I switched over, I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm not shooting PCC, no big deal. Let's just go to the match. Well, I forgot to bring the traveling trophy, which it's the only.
It says it.
Yeah, right.
It says traveling trophy.
It's the only nice trophy, I would say. Well, actually, I really liked my PCC National C-Class National Championship trophy. That thing was really cool. It was the like acrylic, like see-through, plastic kind of thing. It's probably not worth as much as that trophy, like looks wise, or even value. But to me, I that big trophy is, it's pretty awesome to have that, even though I don't really have many places to store that kind of crap at my house right now. But, yeah, man. So that was it for me, man. I had to give it up. I took 5th overall. Which
was pretty good considering everything. It wasn't bad.
It sucked. 5th sucks, dude. I don't care what anybody says. 5th sucks. It just, I shot one of the most inconsistent matches I've shot and still shot consistently, if that makes sense, because it doesn't.
Yeah. You had the flu. I mean, you were sick though too, man.
Yeah. So. I don't use that as an excuse.
But that's a fact. It is what it is.
I know, but I was able to run around and shoot and do my thing. And at the end of the day, the match was mine to lose in the last 2 stages. And I couldn't keep my focus at that point. I couldn't keep my focus in the match because of, I do think that the finally being sick, all day I would just felt like crap. I'd kind of recovered, but not recovered from it. So from being sick. So I don't know. Like I said, I try not to put too much into, there's no excuses for me. I don't use excuses. I'm not an excuse guy. I'm sure it affected me. I know it affected me, especially at the end. And we'll get into that. Actually, we can get into it now, man. We had we shot stage 9 and 10 after lunch. Those 2 stages were back to back in the same bay, where it was shoot one and then shoot another. And both were very technical. We shot we sat easily for over an hour.
It was tough. That. Rough.
I honestly thought,
no, it was more than that.
I was just going to say that. I think it was close to 2 hours that we waited on that bay.
Yeah.
And some of it some of it was the match. Some of it was squads in front of us not pasting. And I don't mean the squad directly in front of us. Those guys were good. But squads in front of them didn't really paste because we were sitting there watching that stage quite a bit. And you could tell that the ROs were having to yell at people to paste. And when you have double bay or double stages in one bay, it's
Yeah, and we had and that was during a lunch break too. We had a lunch break there.
Right. So we came off of the classifier stage. We had a classifier right before that was a little bit of distance to walk to. So we had to walk from that stage, and then they told us to go to lunch, which actually would have worked out really well if excuse me, some of that cold still there. If we would have had everything on time on that specific bay, it was stage 9 and 10. If we would have had that stage on time, we probably wouldn't have had the 2-hour wait. The problem is those guys, you have a double bay. One of them, you start, it's a double. I don't want to say it's a double string, but it was some forced one-handed shooting. And then you went over to a stage that had 2 max traps and a swinger on it. So there's 3 activators to reset all at the same time, all in one time, right? So, I mean, you have all of those things. You have pieces of steel on the other stage, steel on the left stage. There was just a lot to reset. And when you're splitting up squads of how many did we end up having on our squad? 7?
Yeah, we had a small squad.
So 7, and there was 11 or 12 man squads. So we only had 7. It was,
and the squad, remember, we went for lunch, and then the squads were still shooting 9 and 10.
Yep.
But our road group still needed to get a lunch break, and they got they had to go break for lunch, and they took a small lunch break. I mean, they didn't even eat it. They must have gobbled it down.
Yeah. I don't, dude, you'll never see me ever complain about an RO taking a break. Ever. No. I mean, there's no way in hell, especially for the volunteering that we do as this sport is, I would never complain about the ROs taking a break ever. So that wasn't what the issue was. It was just the fact that the way the stages were set up, and it wasn't set up in a bad way. It just requires laboring. People need to work. And, I talked about this not too long ago, but people just don't think about anything else but their shooting, which is fine. I get it. Their job isn't to, run the match, but you have to realize that, you're not the only people on the range, and you should pace and get out there and work. So we had a short man. We were at a short squad. We only had 7 guys. So what we decided, or that I asked everybody, I guess, was, hey, let's not reload our mags when we're done with the stages, and let's paste first, and then we'll load up at the end.
And that almost burned me too. Yeah, I'll tell you that in a minute. Yeah, that almost burned me.
Fault, though.
No. There was my mental. It was because that break and the mental. There was a lot of crap that went on.
Yeah. So we ended up, all of us skipped loading our mags, and obviously we all were loaded before we shot that stage, but we all shot both stages and then reset. And honestly, we were in and out of there. And I think that's the first time that I saw that stage that had nobody waiting for it. Yeah, we were out of there before the next squad even showed up.
Yeah.
So we did pretty good. Now, granted, we were only 7 shooters.
Only 7 guys, but we still shot it fast.
But 7 shooters resetting is what takes the longest, right? It's not the shooting that's going to take us as long, but resetting with only 7 people takes a lot longer, especially when you got 2 bays to reset. That RO staff on both of those stages did an amazing job. They worked their asses off on that stage. Those guys pasted and reset constantly just so they could stay on schedule. That was definitely probably one of the harder bays to stay on schedule with.
Yep.
But yeah, man. So that actually stage started to affect your shooting, huh? Like you were talking about it. And I'll get back into mine obviously later, but it really affected your shooting there, huh?
So that stage, stage 10, I did very well. I burned that down. And that was the first, you shot stage 10 first, and then you actually walked over to stage 9.
Oh, you mean the one with no draw and that strong hand shooting stuff that PCC has? Oh yeah. You should, that was a real tough stage for you, bro.
Yeah.
So I'll give you guys an explanation. I'll try to actually grab a clip of that video. Maybe I'll get Craig to show me his, because mine was poo-poo. But and again, that was after a 2-hour wait. It's pretty difficult to go and just start slinging one-handed shots at steel and swingers.
Yeah, that's a
stage for me.
One-handed tough with a 2-hour break is tough.
Well, and I'm not confident at all right now with the open gun strong hand weekend. I went out and practiced the other day, or gave a class with my carry optics gun, just to save money. It saves money, and I really love that gun. But I shot some one-handed strong and weekend, and that gun just fits my hand really well. So you really start to realize how well the gun fits when you're shooting with very technical, fundamental things like strong hand, weak hand. So the open gun for me personally, I just don't have it 100% yet. I'm not used to having to drive down my hand on a safety like I do. There's no safety on the Canic. It's thin, so I hold my hand differently. There's just a lot of different things that I do with the Canic that I haven't figured out with the open gun yet. So it's coming. I mean, again, it's coming. There's no excuses for it. I just need to spend some time behind it. I took an off season this year for the first time, so I feel a little bit behind. If that
dude, yeah, I don't know, bro.
I just shoot
you shot some of the stages you freaking destroyed. So, I mean,
yeah, I mean, dude, I still have it. You know what I mean? Like my mentality is to attack, and this match specifically, this match or this range
made for that
is very much built for. Well, it was my old home range. I mean, this is where I learned how to shoot. So it was a very, I don't want to say a burner state match or a burner club because I never built stages that you just ran across straight lines and shot. I always made it to where you had to work and to get better. Lots of in and outs, lots of position stuff. But this, honestly, for people who never seen this range or never been to the Wyoming Antelope Club where this match was, it is actually very similar to an indoor range. One berm, all against the back wall. It's very, very similar to an indoor range. There's a lot of things that you can do, though, at this range. You can't do at indoor range because it's designed as an outdoor range without 3 berms, right? With only 1 berm. So they have walls and you can drive things into the ground so you can have swingers that don't tip over. There's lots of different things that you can do and not have to deal with sandbags and all the stuff that those guys do on the indoor, clubs that are a real pain in the ass for them to deal with. I couldn't imagine trying to set up an indoor match where you're hanging stuff off the ceiling and, it's got to be a pain in the ass where you're not putting walls on the ground. You worry about people slipping and falling all the time. It's just another level of thinking when you're building those kind of matches, But yeah, this match
anyway,
definitely built for attacking, right? So I kept that attitude throughout the whole match. And I will tell you, I knew something was wrong with the way I shot on stage, our very first stage, which was stage 3. I shot well on that stage, but I wasn't going to allow it to define the way I was going to shoot the match because I didn't shoot it as fast as I could have. I was lucky enough that I shot on Sunday, which was the last day of the match, and we already had everybody's scores in that. So Chris Tilley, a couple other guys had already shot at GMs for open. So I had some scores to follow and kind of keep an eye on. I don't chase scores, but I really like to kind of get an idea of the time. Obviously, are they shooting a lot of alphas? Those kind of things. You kind of check those things out. But I don't really base my shooting on anyone else's shooting. I base it on my own self. My first stage was, I would say I was probably a second off the pace. I
would agree.
It was good. I was a second off the pace by the time I got done. Obviously, looking at all the scores and everything, I was definitely a second off the pace. So I lost a little bit of points there. And then I ripped off 2 stage runs in a row and I crushed those. I mean, I actually crushed those I actually shot every stage that I shot at the level that I normally shoot at. I ended up winning high overall on those stages. But I don't shoot matches to win high overall on stages, right? I mean, we've talked about this before with stage 9, like you seem to always beat me on stage 9 and you did again this time. That was that.
No, did I?
Yeah, that was the one-handed shooting stage.
No, I think that was 10.
No, it was right. You shot 9 first and then 10. 10 was on the left. Oh, again, I the stages that I won, I shot at my ability and my level of the way I'm supposed to shoot. But then I would have these really weird stages that would just kind of catch me off guard. So, and what I mean by that is my level of focus was really, really hard to stay focused during this match. And what I mean by that is that micro millimeter time that we shoot in, that quarter of a second that we don't do anything else in life in, and I would just drop the ball. So really,
I mean, to the point where you even skip an entire target.
Yeah, man.
You know,
And honestly,
which I have not seen that in 3 years.
so I went back and looked at the scores of the match, and I actually I still wouldn't have won the match if I would have shot that target. I wouldn't have won the match. I would have ended up second overall by 5 points. So I went in. I'll just kind of summarize how the match went towards the end here. I went in after stage 9 and 10. I shot stage 10 really well. So after the break that we had, the 2-hour break, I go into stage 9 and crush it. Or I don't do well on stage 9 after the 2-hour wait. It was a very bad stage for me. I shot the paper in the back, reloaded one to strong hand, lost my dot, kind of started pulling the trigger to find it, found it, shot 2 pieces of steel, a swinger, and then 2 pieces of steel and a swinger. I knew I wasn't mentally ready from the beginning of that stage just because we sat there so long. But I mean, I went to the safe table and worked and dry fired and worked on my reloads and one-handed shooting and all of those things. But I just couldn't get my brain to work. I needed a stage that I could run around on, I guess. Right? Like those stages that you have to stand and shoot are just such mental warfare on just execution. And I did not do well on that stage. So I went directly from that stage to a even more technical stage where you had a unloaded stomp pad, 2 max traps, and a swinger, but the 2 max traps were no penalty mics. So on that specific stage, I had to make a decision whether I was going to go for all of the max traps and the swinger and have a longer time, or if I was going to go for skip the max trap on the left and just go for time. And obviously I still had to have hits on the 1 max trap and the swinger. And then there was a small piece of steel. I'll try to post that up for you guys to see it in here. So it's something you guys can kind of visualize, but it is definitely one of those things that
there was a lot going on that
very
stage.
technical.
And the way you, so the one I was going to add, so the way you had stage plan out, I watched how you had to be outside the box, but you kind of positioned yourself to where you were literally, not in front of the barrel, but you were like kind of close and right on it, because a lot of people stood on the side of the box and that put them further away and they actually had to lean further over this table. So I watched and we figured out after watching you, we talked about it, where you could manipulate your foot and get around to where you're literally right over the table and you can grab this stuff. So that kind of helped. Mentally, like that, there was so much going on that stage, and I was, that we had that break that, I was like, all right, I'm going to use this mag. I'm going to reload. I had bullets in my pocket. I'm going to reload this mag and I'm going to use that and run the stage. Well, I shot stage, whatever it was, 9 or 10, the one where the one-handed thing, but with PCC, you don't need to do that. And I went over there with the unloaded start. I didn't reload that mag and I forgot. And so I went in and ran that stage and I loaded up and I shot everything. And then when I forgot to hit the stomp pad, I'm like, what's going on? Oh, I got to hit the stomp pad. So I lost probably a second. I'm like, oh. And then when I ran the stage, I realized unload, show, clear. I was dry. My mag was empty. It was the last shot. I was like, I'm such an idiot. But mentally, man, like, dang, man, like that almost was a big screw up, and then all your mags were on the table. So I would have had to reach over, grab a mag, look,
so
that was a potential.
That in itself says a lot about that. It's a 2-hour, it's 2 hours of sitting there.
It was rough, man.
And it's just not, it's not good, man. I mean, that's part of the issue is that you're sitting there for 2 hours and then you have to get up for what you're doing, right? Like you got to be excited. You got to be pumped up. You got to be mentally ready. It's the worst. And honestly, it's something that I've noticed that I don't want to say that I struggle with it, but I definitely see a fall in my performance every time I shoot those kind of stages. It happens all the time.
After a break or even after lunch, it's tough, man. And I guess everybody deals with it. And
you remember
we can
the last
talk about
match we shot at the Florida sectional in Volusia, and we had to sit on like 3 stages in a row because the squad, not the squad in front of us, but the squad in front of them was terrible at getting pasting and doing whatever they were doing. So, I mean, again, I don't concern myself with anybody else while I'm at a match, but it's just like, come on, guys. Like, seriously, it's like golf, right? Like, it's the etiquette. Move your ass and get out of the way. Like, you got other people behind you that need to do the same thing you're doing. And it's a disadvantage to the people that actually work their asses off and keep the flow going of the match, that these guys are just sitting around and hanging out, I guess. But there's different levels of the sport, right? Different levels of the sport and participation and work in general. But yeah, that stage was rough because those two stages, and actually it's probably a good thing that we went to those stages, because after those two stages back to back, the second one was a lot easier than the first one for me, just because some of the technical stuff. So for me, I almost would have rather have shot the stage 10 first, the one with the swingers and stuff, because that's normal, right? That's everyday shooting for us, for me especially. I don't go and practice one-handed shooting solely. It's just not something we do enough of that it's worth that. I obviously do it and I tune it up, but I would have loved to have started on that triple stage first and then swung over, because then I'd be like, all right, cool, I pulled the trigger again. You know what I mean? It was like, there's no warm-up bay at this range. The range was used for every bay. So it's not like you can go after lunch and go, cool, man, I'm going to go shoot a couple rounds just to kind of like wake my brain back up. It just didn't happen. So, I mean, listen, there's no excuse, right? Like, everybody has that type of stuff that happened to them, whether it's a broken prop or whatever it is. It's just something you have to deal with while you're
well, one thing I noticed in my shooting, and I'm sure everybody out there has to deal with this, is I noticed that my first stage of the match on almost every match is usually really, really good. And I'm thinking, why is that? And then what happens is my next stage after lunch is usually not the best, Well, and so
your first stage is, I'm going to tell you, it all breaks down to fatigue. It's all body fatigue, right?
Absolutely.
So your body's so. Me especially, I'm a guy who I have a motor that just never stops, right? I'm always on the go. I'm always working. I'm always doing something. There's not a lot of laying around for me, right? So a good example is, as I go along in through the match, I feel my energy level always stays high. Where I lose it is that mental quarter of a second pulling of the trigger, and you just pull off, and you're like, oh, I was there, but you weren't there, right? That's that level of focus that you're missing when you get tired. Some of that comes from nutrition. Some of that comes from working out, your health, all these different things. I
think it's just normal for everybody. I mean, like, and I think everybody has that.
But I'll tell you, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, I went through 2 nationals this year, 2 nationals. That's 18 to 20 stages a match, right? For 2 matches in a row. So I went, and I never came home. I stayed up there. So we stayed and stayed in hotels and all. I didn't go home. I didn't get that relaxation, nothing. I stayed there and shot both matches. On day 3 of both of those matches, I shot the best I've ever shot in my life. How is it that I go all those stages and the last day is the day that I'm the freshest? It's here. It's not even the physical, dude. It's the, all right, I'm down points. I got to go. I got to go.
So that's what was going through my mind when we went to stage 11 was I had to tell myself, all right, I feel myself getting a little bit tired. I've got to focus, and, this stage I could screw up. These are the areas of concern. So I needed to take a step back and just like refocus things and concentrate on shooting alphas, A zone. And I didn't burn that stage down, but I didn't shoot a crappy either. That's for sure. And so that's what I was mentally going through. And it was tough, man, especially after going, stage 10 was, I shot well. The one with the weak-handed for you guys, I shot that one very well. My reload was on point, but then the next one, like I said, it wasn't horrible, but it was not to where I wanted to shoot it. And then 11, I felt myself just tired, man, just fatigued, and I was just thinking, I'm sure everybody has to go through this at some point, and you could choose to either refocus or screw up, So, for everybody out there that's gone through these matches, I mean, you're going to probably run into a point where, and the night before I didn't sleep at all in the hotel room. I had not hardly like 1 hour of sleep.
Why?
So
I mean, I don't understand. You had such a nice hotel
yeah, that's a whole nother story.
So Craig had a bad experience at his hotel that he stayed at. Some trailer trash moved in next door and was keeping him awake with their wild kids, and they're cussing and they're fornicating at 4 o'clock in the morning.
And then they started smoking pot at like 4:30, and I'm like, oh. And we had adjoining room, so it's all coming through the door. I'm like, oh.
You're high as a kite over there sitting there.
Yeah, it sucked.
Good thing the drug test didn't happen the next day.
It just sucked. Yeah. I actually told the manager guy, like, hey, look, I didn't smoke in that room, and it stunk like pot smoke. I'm like, I'm just telling you right now. He goes, no, it's okay. It's okay. I'm like, so just to let you know. Yeah. And then, so anyway, I was exhausted, but so I had to refocus, like, and sit there and concentrate and tell myself, all right, don't mess this stuff up, refocus, concentrate on the A zones and just start shooting alphas. And I got through the stage, no problem. And then I was able to, regroup in stage 1 and 2 and finish. But I was like, everybody's probably had to go through this. Everybody, everybody gets to a point where you're like just tired at a match, especially after a long break. What do? You can either choose to just shoot crappy, or refocus, man. I mean, you got no other choice. You have to buckle down and focus. Yeah. I remember I got through stage 11 and I was like breathing real heavy. I was like, man, I was just tired. I was just tired. Everybody's like, man, you're breathing hard. I'm like, yeah, I'm freaking, I'm tired.
Yeah. And then what do I tell you afterwards? That
you're not pushing.
Yeah. Not pushing hard enough. I'm telling you, didn't. I watched you shoot.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt I lost a step or two, but it wasn't because I wasn't pushing. It was because I was friggin' tired already,
Yeah. So that's something I wanted to talk about today was match mentality, right? So like one of the things that you would come up to me and talk about throughout the match was where you placed on a stage. And I just kept hearing second, or third or fourth or whatever it is. And eventually you have to win. This is kind of an unpopular opinion because you don't have to, okay? You don't have to win stages, but you have to be consistent, right? You have to be consistent. That's the most important thing. I honestly never shoot matches or stages to go for first place on stages at all. But eventually you get to a point where your competition, you have to start focusing on those wins, on those stages, because the people that you're going to shoot against as you get better are going to win stages. And it's not a fluke, right? So like I went back and looked at nationals just real quick. Christian Seiler won a lot of stages. So the problem with someone like him winning stages is he's the best shooter, right? Yeah. Until someone knocks him off.
It is what it is. Yep.
So at the end of the day, if you're taking second to someone, that's usually okay, right? Let's just say you take a bunch of seconds, but let's just say I win a stage, JJ wins a stage, Max Michel wins a stage, Christian Seiler wins a stage. All right, well, cool. Now all 3, 4, or 5 people all have stage wins.
Yeah.
The problem is when one guy wins consistently 5 or 6 stages out of 9, right, and then takes second and third, that's how he wins matches. Again, at some point in your shooting, you have to not accept that you got a top 5 placement or a top 10 placement, a top 12 placement. At some point, as you shoot, you have to change your mentality a little bit mentally and start thinking, all right, I got to push on this stage a little bit. How am I going to steal this win from that guy? How am I going to steal that stage so that it's mine? It's just how it works. It's if you don't start looking at your placement on your stages, and there's all kinds of different levels, right? All kinds of different levels. Right now, I'm kind of talking to the guys that are at my level, at the GM. There's a lot of guys that are GMs that don't win. Well, this is why they don't win, because they're not pushing the limitations. They're focused on winning the match. And this is something that I'm going to go back into this and do this again for the Mindset Monday. If you never give yourself a chance to win, you never will. I'm going to repeat that. I want to repeat that. If you never give yourself a chance to win, you will never win. If you shoot safe, you will always place where the safe people shoot. Period. That's it. That's a fact. That There's not even any way you could even argue that, because someone else like me is going to constantly attack and attack and attack. And I'll give you a good example. And I'm not proud of this, but I shot 6 mics or 7 mics this match. And these aren't the no penalty mics that I left on purpose. This is total mics, 7 mics. Now, one of those mics or 2 of those mics were because I didn't even shoot at the damn target. But regardless, even with the 7 mics, the last 2 stages, I shot a mic on my second to last stage, which was stage 1, and I shot 2 mics on stage 2 because I didn't shoot at a target. Without those 3 mics, I win the match. I placed 5th overall with 7 mics. That is, if that doesn't say you have to go, I don't know what else does. Again, I'm not telling you to go just belaze shit and shoot a bunch of mics, but eventually you have to be accepting of mics. You have to accept that you're going to go through these pains of being bad and sucking. You're going to go through these times when you're not going to shoot well, and you need to shoot like that so you can learn from it. Craig, how long ago did we have that conversation, dude, with you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's probably been close to 2 years now. We're going into 2 years now. Probably.
When I first started shooting on the move, it was like, hey, don't worry about the mics. Don't worry about the deltas. Just start moving and shooting stuff. And no, you're right. And then eventually the hits that were out like this on the target came down, to 2 alpha hits on the move,
Now,
and that's 100% true.
And one of the problems with what happened with Craig was he started creating bad habits of sweeping targets. So it was, he would take the bad hits from moving and shooting and accept those on targets that he should not have had mics on. And they got blended in, right?
Yep.
And we've never actually talked about it. This is the first time we've actually talked about it. I thought about this a lot lately. Part of the issue with what Craig was going through was he was already a good shooter, but now he was trying to add this foreign thing, because moving and shooting is a foreign thing. It's not something that is, you just go out there and just start doing it. All right. Or let me rephrase that. It is something that you have to just go do. You can't get good at it unless you go and do it.
You need to be comfortable doing it. And then because then when you don't do it, you're uncomfortable, which is a good thing.
I think the biggest thing is, and actually this, I proved this to myself. I kind of knew this as a coach, but or as a shooter, but I never knew this as a coach. When I did the JJ class and we were working on movement, and I just kept screwing up. I would get the movement done and I couldn't shoot. And then I would get the shooting good and I couldn't move. Like I was thinking of my feet while I was trying to shoot. And then when the shooting would go bad, I would think about the shooting and then forget about the feet. So eventually it gets to the point where you don't think about your feet. It just happens because it becomes a habit. It becomes something that's natural. It's just like
because you practiced it enough in dry fire. And
I mean, dude, think about how much we walk. Just think about how much we walk. Does anybody ever have to tell you 1 foot in front of the other? Do you ever look down at your feet and go, okay, 1 foot in front? No, unless you're going to trip over something, you don't look down ever. Correct? We never really look down at the ground unless we're going to go somewhere we've never been. If you go from your living room to your kitchen, you're not watching the floor. You've done that a million times, right? You know exactly where the walls are, all those things. Well, the stages are kind of similar. How many times? I mean, there's only so many stages that you're going to get out there. You're staying in bounds, right? You don't need to look at your feet. But when you start thinking about your feet, it kind of
your shooting is going to suffer,
right? Until you get it to be natural, and
so it's a subconscious skill set,
right? Yeah. Right. And then it becomes something that it's just like, oh, what?
Then you can start focusing on the alphas. And I was going to say, like, one thing that I've noticed in my shooting, and so this went back to Sunshine State games. I shot, I won that, but I looked at my hits and I'm like, I'm not happy with my hits. I had too many freaking deltas, too many Charlies, man, too many. And I was like, I got to change something. I got to do, so I started refocusing things. And and I don't know if this works for everybody, but it worked for me. So I used to look at targets and walking through stages, and I would say, bop, 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 in my head. Now it's alpha, alpha, alpha. I'm telling myself alphas, and that's it. And that's all I talk about. It's all I think about. I don't even notice anything else. So I'm realizing what other people say now is I don't notice anything but the A zone. I understand that now because now I've trained that in my training where it's just, I'm shooting alphas and my alpha Charlie count has gone way up, huge amount because I only concentrate on alphas.
And that's part of the problem, right? With people and most guys that shoot this sport and women that shoot the sport is you're focused on the big picture,
the brown,
right?
The big old freaking brown. And that's me. That's me.
Right. Yeah. The big picture. And I'm going to tell you, and I think that's why a lot of people struggle on steel because that big picture is now this. And so you'll see a lot of where people will just hose the shit out of a piece of paper. They don't even think twice to put just 2 anywhere on that paper, but then they get to steel and it's like, go. And then go, and then go. Or even worse, they treat the steel like they did the paper. And they never really gave the paper the same respect that they should the steel or vice versa, right?
We've talked about this
all the time.
You mentioned it to me a few times at Sunshine State and at sectional. There was some targets where I was just bleeding stupid points, close in alpha Charlie. There's zero excuse that you can't shoot 2 alpha with 0 to 4 yards, 0 to 3 yards. I mean, that's stupid. You're just bleeding out points. And I'm looking at the entire match going, damn, if you just took in all those close targets and made them all alphas, good God. So I had to, really buckle down and rethink. I did shoot very, very good hits on this match. I had a really good alpha Charlie, but I made sure I said, I'm not freaking bleeding points on these close in targets and even the far ones. A lot of guys just accept just hosing crap. Well, dude, you can shoot 2 alpha as fast as you shoot an alpha Charlie.
I think the problem is, dude, and I see this in your shooting sometimes. And I don't really say much during matches because obviously you're focusing on a match, but there are times when you shoot matches, you personally, and I see this is not a Craig, you're special. Everybody does this. I see this on everyone. There's no difference between target 1 and target 3, target 5, target 6. They're the same pace no matter what. So when you come up to an open target, it's ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-ba. You go to a no shoot, it's the same pace, right? One of the things that I've noticed since I started shooting open, and I think it's just because I've been focusing so much on video lately, because I'm trying to figure that platform out, is that I have such a different cadence on so many different targets. I can't remember the last stage that I shot that was just pop, 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 pop. Even at my speed, right? At fast speed, pop, 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 pop. I was listening to the stage I ran in 8 seconds, and I'm listening to that stage, and it's ba 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 ba, and it was like, oh, a nose shoot, a hard cover, all had different cadences.
And especially at 5 yards or 6, 7 yards, right? I could see if it's 15 yards out or something.
But
you're not going to.
It doesn't matter whether it's 5 yards or 15 yards. It should be a different cadence. It shouldn't be just a because you're not giving yourself. So just think about this. I shot a stage with 28 targets, 26 targets, whatever. I think it was 28 targets. I should have reloaded, but I didn't have to, right? That stage I shot in 8.05 or 8.07 seconds. I mean, I shot an entire stage in 8 seconds, and I didn't shoot it as fast as I possibly could. Right? I mean, people have to understand that.
So wait, what are you saying? Are you saying you should change your cadence for the no shoots and
absolutely? The problem is everybody treats targets. So, and I actually did a video for this on the Insider Circle. When you go to a no shoot on your first target, you will carry that cadence throughout the entire stage now. Because here's what happens. You draw and you see the hard cover, the no shoot, and you go pop, pop. As soon as you go to the open target, you go pop, pop. Why? Because you don't have an aggressive mindset. You have it, not you. This isn't you.
Just I know.
People you have to start having that aggressive mindset. And I see this with you. This is one thing that you do. It's not just the cadence, but there'll be times when you get on a stage where your focus is, you're running into a position and getting A's, and you're not giving it the same physical aggressiveness as you are the mental aggressiveness. Does that make sense? Like you're focused 100% on alphas, but not 100% on the movement while shooting those alphas, right? So that comes with confidence, though. That comes with thousands and thousands of rounds of me going, all right, I can shoot 2 alphas this fast, and I can also shoot 2 alphas this slow. Why would I even go to the slow part, right? Unless it's a hardcover. But my slow down is what your average person shoots an open target with, right?
Yeah.
Because of practice, fundamentals, all those things. That's the difference, though. So like, if you're not listening, see, I won't even watch the video sometimes. I'll just listen to the video. And I want to hear that. That means I'm doing something right. That means I'm doing it correctly. If I hear stages where I'm just going,
you're hosing.
That better be an open ass set of targets.
Yeah, just all straight up. That
better be an open set of targets. So it's just when that's the mindset that you start to change as you shoot. You have to attack. And that's something that I feel like you lose sometimes when you're focusing on the A's, right? Because what happens is
I think
what's that?
You can. I think you're right, and I think that's a possibility because you can. Yes,
you take 100%. Your mindset off. You take your mindset off of shooting, right? Like your aggressiveness goes away because you're so concerned with hits, right? So if somebody in front of me shoots an all alpha stage, I'm not slowing down to try to get all alphas.
No.
Say that, but people do it all the time, dude.
I know
all the time. I see people all the time do it.
The philosophy should be, look, man, if you're shooting Alpha Charlie fast, you can shoot 2 alpha fast, why not?
So how do you do that? Let's get into that. How have you found a way to keep your speed up how'd you do it? I mean, what is it?
Okay. So first off, I won't even claim to say that I'm the fastest freaking PCC shooter out there.
We already know that. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I'm definitely not. My speed's up there, but that was in due training. And like what I've noticed is I needed to retool my focus. And so I'd set up stages down at the bays where I shoot down at Homestead Training Center. And I would set everything up and I would run stuff. And when I started seeing that, I'm like, man, I'm not paying attention to just shooting alphas. I would step back, retool my focus, and start shooting alphas just as fast on the timer, and until it's second nature, until I'm telling myself alpha. And that's all I'm noticing, but at speed and on the move and all that stuff. So can I keep it up an entire match? That's my next thing. That's the next thing I need to do. And then I would be a freaking GM, and I'm not.
So that's the levels. Right. And so, I mean, I know USPSA gets a lot of shit for their classification system, but because there's ways to game the classification system, welcome to the world, guys. You can game anything at just about, but it's the same concept. The levels are designed for guys like you, guys like I was, like guys like I am now, even GM. There's different levels of GMs. They just don't have a GM level 2, GM level 3. But there are different levels in GMs, period.
I finally made master, so I'm happy with that.
The sandbag has had a hole poked in it.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. So, but
some of your issues were mental. Again, the mental stuff.
Yeah, the DQing from matches and stuff like that. Yeah, so
really dumb DQs too. So. But it is what it is, man. Listen, it's a game. It's a sport, right? I mean, we don't get paid to do this shit for a living, so it's part of life, man. You learn from it. So, but you know what? It's changed the way you do things, right? Those DQs you've learned from. And I think that's the most important thing, is just to learn from those mistakes. So, I did a breakdown video on the YouTube channel today or this week. And it was, I started going through that thing and I realized like how much I've grown as a shooter from walking stages.
Yes.
Even
but you do that very, 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 very well.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
No. And so that's a huge, and like you were saying, if people overlook that, oh my gosh, it's such a big thing. It's huge.
No, I just think that, I think the problem is that you don't give stage walking enough credit. And I kind of explained a little bit in that video when I broke that down, was that the one thing that it allows me to do is shoot slower. I don't have to go out and blast a 0.13 split on everything. It allows me to stage plan a little more time, right? Does that make sense? So we stage plan to take away time, but I gain time where I feel is the most important. Honestly, my stage plans, if I decided to go out there and pick it up and go faster, it's going to be a crush. I'll crush it.
Stage 10, or not stage 10, stage 7 is a great example. 7, remember the corner. There was a good stage because there was about 3 or 4 different ways that you could have addressed each array at different order. And I thought the way that we ran that was, to me, the 100% the best way.
That was the one that you're talking about, the far right where we touched the barrel.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll give you a good example, guys. I'll give you a good example. This is actually, I'm glad you brought this up. This is a perfect stage to kind of show what it's all about, how stage planning matters.
And if you're not moving, all that. Yes.
So here's a great example. Craig sat down and talked to some other really good GMs that win shit and asked them some stage plans. And in their stage plan, they had stopping. They had stop, whatever it was, right? There was at least 2 positions of stopping. And then some long distance shooting, correct? Was that he was going to stay back? Okay.
Yeah.
Then some long distance shooting. Nothing wrong with that. But Craig's conversation with him, his mentality was he hated Charlies. He didn't want to have Charlies because he's a grandmaster and he's shooting minor. He didn't want Charlies. Okay. So again, you're stage planning safely because of Charlies. You don't get penalties for Charlies, but you're stage planning because you don't want Charlies. Why can't you shoot alphas while you're moving and shooting? This isn't against the shooter. This I'm just saying this in general. The mindset, right? It's a mindset thing. So this specific stage, my mindset was to attack a target before I even got to the far left corner. There was a double stack on the far left and a single target between a barrel and a wall. Remember how many times did I tell you, I'm going to shoot that target first. I'm going to shoot the inside target first. I'm inside target first. Well, the stage before that, I shot 2 mics on, and me being sick was really starting to affect my mental. I could feel it. Like I had like this weird cloud. Like I was walking off stages going, I don't know what I did. Like, I didn't
shoot that, by the way. I skipped it and I ran on the move. I shot on the move, but
so did I.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why. So my original plan was to shoot that inside target first. It would have been better for me, and I would have probably gained a little bit more time out of it. But my draw was horrible, all match, horrible. And again, the reason the draw sucked was because that's such a mental focus thing. You have got to be mentally lined up physically and mentally with that is so much movement and lining things up and finding the dot and everything has to come together. It's a big dance, right? So I skipped the inside target this time and went to the 2 outside targets. Well, I didn't unlock my holster.
Remember that.
So I went yank, unlock, out, 2, 4, and finished the stage. I still won that stage, high overall. I don't remember 100% because I didn't care to look, but I'm pretty sure I had the fastest time on that stage.
Let's see, I can tell you right now.
Yeah, it was stage 7. Won that stage, high overall.
Yep. You had 9. You won high overall. 9. You had 9.7, 20 alpha, and 3 Charlie.
So again, guys, 3 Charlies, and I moved and shot the entire stage. The entire stage, right? There was 15-yard targets on the move. I didn't care. I'm going to shoot like I'm supposed to shoot. I shot a hardcover on the move. I didn't care. Pieces of steel. It doesn't matter to me. If If the fundamentals are there and I'm focused on what I'm supposed to do, then everything else takes care of itself. I've trained it up. That's the whole point of what I'm doing. But that specific stage was a good example. That stage plan alone allowed me to make some mistakes.
Yeah. And that was me. I made a mistake on that stage, but we ran that stage. And remember how that we talked about, like, all right, if you shoot this on the move, there was a port there.
Yeah.
Where you could address those two targets. If you shot everything on the move, you were totally out of that port.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, why would you stay there and shoot? Because you're losing time. So we just took everything on the move and then came around. I shot a mic, but I had 20 Alpha, 2 Charlie, 1 mic, and I shot it in 10.2. All right. So, and the mic was my dumbass sweeping the middle back target, standing, not even moving. Everything else was alphas. So, but I took second overall in PCC on that with a mic, with a dumb mic, you know?
Yep. Well, and that's the part that is frustrating about this match specifically is you could get some mics, right? You could make some mistakes because everything was close. So you knew people were going to make mistakes when everything was close. But some of the mistakes that I was making were just things that I couldn't see. Like I physically could not see myself doing it because I wasn't in tune with everything for the match. I mean, I shot two mics through a wall that I never saw. Like
stage 6. Yeah.
I mean, I'm on paper.
And remember
100%.
we talked about how that target had been moved.
So we'll get into that because, but you know, and this will kind of give you an example of how you have to start paying attention to things when you walk stages and then make sure when you come back, they're still the same. So there was a target in the back right-hand corner. It had rained the night before. We walked stages on Saturday, the day before we shot the match. We walked stages on Saturday, and there was this specific stage had a hardcover target, IPSC target with it was split right down the middle. And then there was a wall on the right-hand side that had some like perforated hardcover to where if you shot through it, you would get a mic. Well, that target, you could see one step from the back corner, you could see the target. When you took a step forward, you could see the target. Well, as soon as we got on that stage and started walking at it, I looked at Craig. I said, this doesn't look the same, dude. Like that target's really hard and tucked in there now.
Yeah.
And he was like, Craig rewalked and he was like, yeah, dude, I could have shot that from back here and moved and shot on it.
And that was where the start stick, you had to straddle. So I knew right at that straddle stick, right. you had the A zone at the straddle, and you didn't have it anymore. That's what, and we even talked about, like, hey, you got to run all the way forward and make sure you get the alpha zone on that.
So my dumbass decides to shoot at the same stage plan, but I knew I was going to have to go up farther. Well, now that shot became even harder. It was really harder. Like there was not a lot. You had to have visual patience for that. And so shooting. I'll give you guys kind of of what I think happened to that target. When it rained, the target was in the berm. Well, this specific range is covered and it has gaps between the concrete ceiling where the water will leak through. Well, the back berm, it gets in there and destroys it, like really flushes it out when it rains hard. I think what happened is when they put new targets on, when they put the sticks in, it shifted. The whole thing
shifted. Yeah,
it shifted
inadvertently, you know. But it is what it is.
It was no one's fault. No one did it on purpose. But was I willing to be that guy that was going to have a stage thrown out because the target wasn't the same? No, I didn't care. I just
address it a couple steps later. You know,
to me, it was a disadvantage to me. But I just needed to execute it, right? It's not it's one of those things where it's not a swinger. It's not a max trap where a guy got 5 full seconds to shoot at it and I got half a second. It was up to me to do my job, right? And it's funny because I argued the call because the way the hits looked, they didn't, it was also, and now thinking about it, obviously, the hits went through a soft cover. They didn't go through a wall or hard cover. So when they hit, it kept the same perfect bullet shape and everything. Right. So it was the right call. I had a mic there and I had a mic on the left-hand side that I definitely didn't see. And it was in the same kind of cover. again, I wasn't able to focus, I guess, at that point. And I think what we were 3, 4, 5, 6, we were 3 stages in, right? 3 stages in. So I shoot that stage, and I was very upset with myself. Very, very, very upset with myself. So I walk away, and then I come back, and in my fashion, I start talking trash to the RO, which I'm friends with. He actually helps us build one of our matches at our club that we build matches at. And I tell him he's a terrible RO and he made a terrible call and it's his fault and all these things, right? So having a good time. It was fun. So that really helped me in the long run, because of us laughing and joking and kind of just letting the pressure off that I put on myself. It really kind of put me back into, all right, man, I'm going to, let's go. I'm going to rock and roll. So the very next stage was stage 7, and I ended up winning that stage. I crushed that stage. I felt good. I mean, the ROs, when the RO goes, wow, you do good. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. So yeah, you shot that stage really well. I'm glad you decided to listen to me and not change the stage plan, because I know we had talked about that like 3 or 4 different things on that stage, and like possibly changing it to where shooting through the port. And then, the more I walked it, and then actually I walked that stage before we started the day. I went back and I wanted to double check with a different mindset from what we talked about. And I wanted to listen to what you had to say. So I went over and looked, and I was like, no way, dude, I'm definitely not doing that. Yeah.
It's funny how, I'm getting better a little bit, but like, we move on, we try to move on stuff. And then you realize, like, if you move on everything, that port is gone.
Yeah. It was a half a step too. The thing that turned me off was that
and a stop position and a full stop position.
Yeah. And it was 2 targets that you had to have shot to make that stage plan work. It wasn't going to be like, all right, I'm just going to drive by on one. You were going to have to stop and shoot 2 targets because of how skinny the port was. Right.
You're losing at least a second and a half, a second.
Again, I talked about this in the breakdown video on the YouTube channel, bro. The same exact thing is happening all the time when you're stage planning. If you stage plan a stop that you don't need to do, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. I mean, if you shoot against someone like me who goes attacks, any good grandmaster has the same mindset I have, right? They attack. I just stayed that way.
But like when I started shooting, I was a B PCC shooter, and I started shooting on the move, and that stage wasn't that hard. If you're a B class guy and you can shoot these targets on the move, you're gonna win, man. I mean, you're gonna do very well.
So I would say the thing that's changed the most in your shooting is the pace of your moving and shooting now.
Yeah.
Right. It's still too slow in my opinion. I'm still on your ass about you're not reaching your potential, but that's just going to always be me. Until I see you hit that potential, again, we talked about this the other day. There is no reason that I beat you in time. None. You don't have a draw. You don't have a reload. 0 reason. It is bullshit. I don't care if I have it and get to use it at this point. It is bullshit. It is. It doesn't mean you're the best shooter. It just means you're the fastest son of a bitch and get the same amount of points the slower guy gets, right? Like I really enjoy open. I don't want them to change the rules or anything. So I'm not getting into that. We're not getting into that kind of crap. But actually, I would like one rule change. Everybody shoots major. I think the sport would benefit from it. I don't want to see anybody shooting major ammo out of a minor gun like a Canic or anything. But if everybody got major scoring factor, the speed that you would see out in this sport would change. You would see some really good times out of some of the carry optics guys, and you would see a totally different game if major scoring factor was throughout. PCC and major scoring factor, I don't think anyone would beat a PCC in the match. You would probably see a lot more PCC guys. That's why you'll never see major scoring factor in all divisions, because they hate PCC. But for me, the Craig was talking all his shit to me about how he it was only because you had major scoring, obviously he's using my own joke or whatever. So I said, all right, man. I said, I hadn't looked at it, and neither had he.
And me neither.
He screwed himself because he didn't check to see. So he goes, all right, well, I'll show you. Jason Clark was there actually. He's the one who's like, oh yeah, you should look it up.
Yeah.
So he goes in there, and Craig changes it to minor. What is the first? Oh yeah, and I beat his ass. I only dropped like 3 spots. So I went to 5th to 8th or whatever. Yeah.
I'm gonna say, in the immortal words of Brennan Conway, that's because you got a G next to your name.
so then it gets even better. It gets even better. So then Jason's like, all right, well, see what would have happened if you would have had major.
Flip it around.
Still beat his ass. So the best part of that day, and listen, at the end, I was dead. Like I just felt like shit. And it ended up being that I ended up getting re-sick. What I thought I had beaten actually came back later that 2 or 3 days later. It was bad. So, but regardless, it was fun. It was just awesome to sit down and get that little bit of, I was pissed. I'm not going to lie. I was very, very, very upset about my shooting at the end. I went into the last 2 stages with an opportunity to win the match, and I dropped the ball, dude. And I pride myself on when the chips are on the table and you got to go for it. I'm that guy that you want in the game. You give me the ball, coach. I'm ready to go. I'm going to go hammer it home. And I really did on stage 1. I did really good on that stage. I shot a mic, which still I was, because of my time and how good my hits were, I still ended up, I think, 3rd overall on that stage, but I needed a stage win. That stage win was very important. So it was close. And then I went into the next stage like, all right, I'm going to shoot this differently than I think everybody else did. So I'm going to go for it. I shot a couple of deltas on the swingers, which I don't know how or why. I think the swinger was so slow. They had a double swinger that
I should have a mic on that.
I'm not kidding.
I had 2 mics on the match. That was one of the mics.
I'm not kidding. This swinger was so slow that it was like a static target moving. But I will tell you, that corner, the range is very dark. And it was a half target. They put hardcover on one of them. So it kind of cut the targets in half. You couldn't see the targets very well. Like I couldn't see hits. I just knew red dot in the brown somewhere. That's all I could see. And that hurt me in the long run because those 2 deltas would have, I needed those 2 deltas to win the match anyway. I would have needed, obviously I couldn't have any mics on that stage, but I'm just burning this stage down, feeling great, like getting really good hits, moving and shooting. And one of the targets that I stage planned to shoot ran right past it.
I was like, what the heck did we just see?
Yeah, ran right past it. So this is how mentally waxed I was and taxed out I was. I go up to the target and I go, nobody pasted this?
Yeah. You had no idea you had no idea you skipped it.
No idea, dude. No idea. And then as soon as I did it, I was like, well, good way to throw away a match because I knew I had a chance to win the match. Now, I gave myself 2 alphas on that target, and I still lost this match by 5 points because of the mic on the stage before. But it wasn't just one stage, guys. I mean, the 2 mics that I had on stage 6, you name it. There's all kinds of mistakes that I made that I could easily take back. But it's just, it's shooting, man, right? It's just a mental struggle. It's a mental battle. So it always makes me laugh when people talk about how the buzzer really bothers them. Like they hit the timer and then they forget their plan. And I'm like, that's the hard part. Like, this shit gets way harder when you get better. Like think about trying to win a match and you're only down by 5 points or, all these things. It's like, stress in this game.
This is actually like this trophy. I won the state match, but technically that's a 3rd place trophy because Jason Clark beat me and Isaac Hansen beat me, and so they don't live in Florida. So I'm the next lowest dumbass that won this. I mean, I lost by 21 points. Which is listen, it's not horrible, not great, but not I'm
you're
happy with how I shot. But I wanted to say, like, I follow Isaac Hansen and Jason on Instagram. And so it was kind of cool meeting them. They're really cool guys, and we had a lot of fun sitting on the picnic table, screwing around. That's the most fun about the sport, is just meeting new people, and I met those guys, and they're good dudes, and we had fun about making fun of your major scoring factor and all that stuff. So it was good. It was a good match. It was fun.
It was a good match, dude. I had fun. I wish I felt better. I hate shooting when I'm sick.
You struggled. Yeah.
It's very difficult for me because of the expectations that I carry for my shooting and myself are so impossible. Like that's another question though. What, listen, we all want to be 150% when there's a match. What do you do when you're not at 150% at the match? I start breaking it down smaller. I stop thinking about overall stages and I think about the individual target while I'm on it. That's usually how I shoot in general, right? In general, that's how I shoot. I never shoot with the whole stage plan.
No.
But see, Craig, you say that, right? You say that, but you're like me. You put them in little compartments, like, all right, this array, this array, this array, this array. Now
even down to
right. How do I make it one array now? Right. But most people look at the stage as this daunting task, this big giant task that's almost impossible to, it's too difficult when you're thinking of the whole stage as one giant stage. It's their little individual stages, right? And the way you join them together is how I teach people, right? It's there's a stage here, there's a stage here, there's a stage here, there's a stage here. How do I join these together to become one stage, right?
So you brought up a very good point, and it reminded me of something. And it's something that when I started, I used to say, okay, I'm going to shoot at that alpha, right? Now, in the past couple matches, now I'm specifically I'm putting my dot there. I know I'm going to be shooting on the move. I'm going to put my dot on the top of the perf. I know that there's a hard cover. I'm putting my dot and I'm moving to the left or the right. I'm putting my dot there. And that has made a huge difference. So each target, I know where that dot is going to be, where I should be, and to give me the best hits possible.
Aim
right?
small, bro. It's really true. Aim small, miss small. You should be aiming at the letter of the A, not the A zone. The A zone doesn't take much to get a Charlie.
No, right? but even specific targets, like your dot needs to be in a certain spot. So if those people who are listening out here, like if you're just shooting at an A, no, you need to be paying attention to, all right, I'm going from left to right and there's hard cover covering part of the A zone. I need to be on the perf of that A. I'm moving into this target. I need to be on the upper part of that perf because usually you pull the gun down. So if I'm on the perf, I'm going to be dropping 2 alpha right there. So that has changed huge for me. And even in this match, I knew where my dot was going on every freaking target, not just arbitrary A zone, which doesn't work.
So what's the next step after this? Since you were able to successfully do what you've been training, what are you doing now?
Do it faster.
That's it. That's what I want.
So because that's it. I think the way I'm doing it now, I need to do it faster now. I need to speed it up.
So what are your expectations now that you're going to speed up?
That the hits are going to suffer a little bit.
Yes. Okay, good.
But then,
so that's what the most important part is, though, is that the expectations need to be reasonable. Right? They need to be, which is a good point. Need to be realistic. You have to know that it's kind of like, and I don't know anybody who hasn't lifted some type of weights in their life. Okay. Or if you haven't lifted weights, lifted something heavy. Today, I could go bench 225. Tomorrow, I can probably only get 185 because I'm not as fresh, or I don't feel as good. I don't mentally as fresh, right? But does that mean I'm not strong? No. Does that mean I'm a complete failure? No. That's how it works. You're going to have failures because so we'll treat this like a muscle. You're going to work out. You're going to break the muscle down. Then it needs to recover, which is time. That in our sport, it's time. And then I'm going to work out again, and I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be able to take that 225 and bench press it every time I want now, all I want, because that's what my new strength is. Well, how do I get to 300 pounds? I need to add a little bit more weight. How many times am I going to fail doing more weight? A lot. But then guess what? All of a sudden it goes from 225 to 250 to 260 to 285 to 300. Boom. I just hit the 300-pound mark. Now, could I get that in a week? No. So should you expect to be able to do that in a week? No.
No.
Same thing. This is the same thing. You break yourself down and then build yourself back up. And then once you get to a certain level, and this is why classes of our sport are so important, because you'll go from a C class to a B class to an A class. And then some guys like myself, I went from A to master. I went from C class to an A like that. And then from A to master for a week to GM, right? Or for a month, whatever. I don't know what the hell it was, but it didn't take me long to get there because of the amount of practice I was putting in, the mental focus that I had. That
the level of effort. Yep,
dude,
the level of effort.
It's also my goal. I know people that have goals of winning matches, but they don't have any goals on how to get there.
Yeah.
Right. You have to have goals to get there. You can't just say, all right, man, I'm going to be a GM one day. Well, no shit. I said, I'm going to be a millionaire one day too.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is even talking about where you need to know where your dots should go. A D class, C class, B, A class, that's something that you can do now.
Yep.
You know, and you need to know where your dots should be.
Most of the skills, bro, that we have as GMs are not GM skills, right?
Yeah.
They're
I'm not a GM.
class skill. No, dude, they're C class skills.
Absolutely. People can do that.
They're C class skills that we have learned to perfect and have gone faster with. So as most guys that coach and train have learned, you go faster when your fundamentals are better. Then your fundamentals get better, then you go faster. Then your fundamentals get better, then you go faster. Then all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm at top speed, baby. And then you realize like, oh, I could go a little bit faster. But that doesn't mean it's because I'm a GM. It's because I learned the fundamentals and took those fundamentals and started speeding up. And I was already fast. So I kind of went the opposite route, which was, to me, it's easier to train a guy like me because somebody who's already fast, I can teach you how to hit the target.
Yeah.
It's hard to teach someone to change their mindset to go faster, right? It's very difficult because there's a control that you feel like you lose when you start to go faster, especially with a firearm. There's something about holding a gun, and I know what it is. It's obviously that you could hurt yourself. But I mean, I remember teaching people to trigger prep with their CZs, and they're looking at me like, you want me to pull the trigger now? I'm like, yeah, I want you to start pulling the trigger now. And they're like, I can't. I just, no way, man. I'm not on the target. I'm like, start pulling the trigger now. So you start off with baby steps, right? You start off with no bullets. Be safe, 100% safe. No bullets. You start trigger prepping, go. You get to the top and you tell them to stop and you freeze there and you go, all right, now pull the trigger until it goes off. And they pull and then click. And then they realize like, wow, I didn't trigger prep at all. Okay. Now I want you to do the same thing. This time I want you to really pull the trigger like the gun's going to go off. They get right to the edge of the wall and then they go click and they go, oh, I see the difference now. How did I get that? That's not a GM skill.
Yeah, no.
But I learned that as a C class shooter, right? I learned that as a C class shooter.
You know, I think a common mistake a lot of people make, especially in the lower classes, is they get some internal cadence in their head for whatever target. Yeah. And I'm like, dang, you're just thinking you're going to launch 2 rounds, I mean, instead of having visual patience and recognizing, and I guess that's just, I'm starting to see that more now with my shooting. And so I see it more in other people's, like you could see where the mistakes are being made and they're throwing Charlie Delta or Alpha Mike, is that internal cadence that you just think you should be just applying to every freaking target, instead of shooting at your level of sight, and your speed of sight. So.
Yeah. I mean, that to me is the level of, that's the different levels, dude. Right. Like you get to a point where, and actually I saw something on Facebook the other day where a guy commented about a specific drill that he was using and how he was working on predictive shooting. And I didn't comment on it because, it's Facebook and you got your experts that are out there, predictive shooting is not a good idea. When you predict, and what I mean by that is walking up to a target and going, okay, this is a 0.13 split target. What if your dot's not there? You're going to shoot a 0.13 split.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, this is the thing that this is what goes on, right?
Maybe some really awesome guys think like that. I don't think so. I'm not that awesome.
I'm telling you right now. What controls the trigger pull, Craig?
Your speed of your sight. I mean, you need to have your dot.
Dude, yeah. I mean, that's it. The sights are what control the trigger pull. If your sight is there, why haven't you pulled the trigger? If your sight isn't there, why are you pulling the trigger?
Yeah. If you're in a delta mic zone, I mean, why?
You're only pulling the trigger because you're supposed to.
Yeah.
I see this all the time when it comes to shooting the draw, when you're teaching the draw. Oh my God, the draw. It is the ultimate test of whether you're seeing the sights or you're not seeing the sights. It's the ultimate test of your grip, because when you come out of that movement, your grip is either there or it's not there. There's no maybe. It could be. It's kind of there. It's either there or it's not there, right? And we've talked about this before. What's the perfect grip? Having the gun in your hand. Yeah. People want this perfect draw, this perfect grip, this perfect squeeze. That's awesome. So do I. But life isn't perfect and this sport isn't perfect. So sometimes you got to grab that gun and deal with what you gave yourself off of the draw. You don't just put the gun back in the holster and go, I'm going to start over. You got to rip it and grip it and do what you have to do. And then as you're transitioning to another target, move your gun. Then you move your grip, fix that grip, and then clean it up. That's just part of it. Sometimes if I'm shooting on a 25-yard piece of steel, I want a faster draw than if I was shooting at a target that was close to me. Why? Because I want to eat up the time that it's taking me to get on target. So it gives me longer to aim, right? But if I want longer to aim, but I'm still going to have the same results if I had a slow, pulled out, perfect draw, am I still pulling the trigger fast? No. I'm pulling the trigger at the same time that I would whether I whipped it out slow or I whipped it out fast, right? The difference is the faster I draw my gun and get it on target, the longer I have to aim and get better accuracy, have a better trigger squeeze. So, and I will tell you, dude, that's the hardest thing that I've learned in this sport is that it's the same thing when we talked about cadence earlier. Your cadence, that when you slow down your cadence on a specific target, you're not losing time. It just feels like it, right? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you shoot a mic, you've lost time. Now you're going to have to make the shot up. If you shoot a no shoot, you've lost time. And now you have to make it up.
Yeah, your no shoot shouldn't be, it should be.
I will say there are targets that I absolutely shoot like that.
Close in hosers. Yeah.
But again, that means the target that was before that was even faster than I shot the headshot or the no shoot, right? It's all varies on what you're shooting at. That's why that's why predictive shooting, in my opinion, is a terrible thing, because now if I go out and I train myself that, all right, I'm going to shoot at this no shoot at 10 yards, every no shoot at 10 yards is getting this speed.
This cadence.
Bullshit. What if the target has the no shoot is I have an A zone that's 3/4 open compared to something that's 2 inches open. Those are two totally different speeds.
No, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
So now
and you can see, you watch the top level shooters and you see that they're applying that level of respect to those types of targets. You should probably be doing the same thing. You know what I mean? That's something I've changed in the last, I would say 6 months, dude. I've changed a lot of my mindset of speed. My speed, I'm already fast. Yeah.
I will say that's the hard part though, dude. That's the hard part when I say stuff like this, because a lot of people aren't fast. They haven't given themselves the opportunity to be fast, right? Like this podcast is obviously this is a big conversation that we've had a little bit here and there, but we're kind of diving a little bit deeper into it. This podcast is getting a lot deeper into the fact that your mindset of how you attack things changes on the attack target, right? Like JJ brings it up. There's an attack target and then there's a control target.
Yes.
But some of the targets that he would consider control, and he would slow down, he might slow down a little bit more than me, right? Just because of that thought process. But does he shoot no shoots? Does he shoot mics? No.
So he's the best in the world.
Right. It's one of the best. It's a good mindset to carry. So after taking his class, I really changed some of the ways I stopped thinking that time was the ultimate thing. Right. And because
and then you can just outrun all your mics and all that crap. Eventually it's going to
I've never really been a big mic shooter, right? I've never really shot a lot of mics. I will tell you, when I switched over to open, I shot a lot of deltas. A lot of those deltas came from my grip. I noticed that I was getting a lot of deltas from my grip. I don't know how many deltas I shot at this match. I don't think I shot a lot of deltas. The mics were bad. 3 deltas. So I'm extremely happy with that. That's actually very low for me. I remember shooting the Florida sectional this year. I think I had like 11 or 12 or 17. It was something crazy. Like it was a number that I was.
So here's a good example. Your hits, you had 172 alpha, 55 Charlie, 4 delta, 6 Mike. And I had 192 alpha, 40 Charlie, 4 delta. Well, let's go to the sectional, right?
Because 2 deltas.
Yeah. So the sectional, I shot significantly. Where's the sectional at? No, I shot pretty good. I had all the mag problems. I would add Sunshine State would be one I want to add.
Sectional was after. So you were 238, 37 Charlies, 12 deltas, 2 mics, 1 no shoot, and a procedural.
That was sectional, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I went 226, 52 Charlies, 10 deltas, and 1 mic. So the deltas really upset me after walking off that state, after leaving that match. Nationals this year, that was one of the things that, nationals for me in general, I still hadn't figured out like what the hell I was doing, I guess. I don't know. So like, in nationals, I shot 16 deltas. 2 mics,
bleeding points.
4 no shoots. Well, the 4 no shoots, remember, this is no practice. This is your gun too, right? No practice, not even really using the gun, not getting used to it. I went straight out of carry optics directly into that, not, just not shooting anywhere near the level I am now with the open gun. So it's just a completely different platform to get used to. But I still shoot the way I shoot, right? But it was the mistakes that I was making is the biggest problem I had. Like, good examples, like I had 16 deltas, okay? I had 2 mics, which wasn't terrible, but the 4 no shoots was 100% from grip. Where I was driving the gun down, going to a gun that has a thumb rest that I never use, right? Those are all things that start to.
No, you definitely had, for sure.
But so that after leaving that match, that was it for me, bro. That was it. That's getting cleaned up. I noticed, I heard Christian Seiler walk away from a practice session that at nationals this year. And I remember hearing him say, okay, the gun's tracking great. It's going straight up and straight down. I don't think I have ever walked away from a session and thought of that. So when I walked away from that session, I was like, or listening to him say that, I was like, all right, that's it. From now on, that's what I'm paying attention to.
That's what you should be looking at. Yeah.
Well, think about it. What is important? Why does that matter? And again, these are all things that you have to pay attention to details. That's important. I mean, you have to think about, how does the gun work? The gun works up and down. When the gun goes left and right and up and down at the same time, whose fault is that?
That's the shooter's fault.
That's the shooter's fault. So now I start, again, I'm always looking for an answer. Well, what is the one thing that I have 100% control over in this sport?
You're shooting.
Me, myself, I control the shooting. I control the grip. I control the reloads. I control my ammo, right? I mean, all of those things are controlled by me. So there's no excuse for anything if I don't do well, but me. right? I am the problem. So when you go back and you start looking at your shooting, that needs to be the number one answer. The number one answer is you are the problem at the end of the day. So in this match, so I went back to carry optics nationals now. I shot 13 Delta. All right, 13 Delta. So again, my Deltas weren't as bad as I thought they were. I thought they were much higher than that, but I think I had been shooting a lot of Deltas before that. So I really kind of started to focus on cleaning that stuff up at nationals, but I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't quite there, you know? So like this match, I think I had the fastest time at the Florida sectional. Let me look here real quick. I'm pretty sure I had the fastest time high overall. Let's see, where is that at? The Florida sectional, no, state championship, right?
Florida State, yeah.
There it is, state championship. All right. So my total time was, let me go to
1:14.
So Lescar, but that doesn't always mean it's I'm see if they can change. Here's just time only. So that, no, they're adding the penalties in there when you do that though. So my time, Lescar was 1:20. I was 1:14. He had one mic. I had 6 mics and that procedure obviously missing. So guys, this is a great example of some of the things that I talk about all the time with speed. All right. This is one of the things I talk about all the time with speed. When you shoot matches and you don't give yourself a chance to win, you don't win. So my total time was 1:14.62. All right. Lescar's time was 1:20.62. Congratulations to him, by the way. He is now the new Florida State champ. That's awesome. Congratulations. His hits were 182 alpha. I had 172. So I'm about 10 off the pace. He had 54 Charlies. I had 55 Charlies. He had, so listen to those numbers, guys. I was 10 alphas down, but I was 5 seconds faster, 6 seconds faster. All right. I had 54 Charlie. He had 54. I had 55 Charlie. 3 deltas for him, 4 deltas for me. He had 1 mistake, 1 mic. I had 6 and a procedural. So 2 of those mics and me, the procedural, were on 1 single target. So I still had a chance to win and I shot shitty. I did not shoot my best match. Why? How was I able to do that? I kept the pace. I stayed aggressive. I cannot emphasize that enough to shooters. You have to stay aggressive. It's time divided by points, divided by hits.
And you still got to focus on your hits, on your A zone. You got to do it like what you do, but put that dot in A.
But listen, could you imagine right now? Let's just say I was a C-class shooter, all right, or a C-class shooter. But I'm 5, because right now I'm 5 seconds faster than one of the best GMs in the world, right? 6 seconds faster in this match, right? Now, again, he might not have shot a great match either. Right? This isn't about me being better than him. This it's just in general. This is just general talk for all the people out there who like to hate and talk shit. I was 6 seconds faster than one of the best GMs in the world. Okay, if I was a C-class shooter and I'm 10 seconds faster, right, then the next C-class shooter, but I have a little bit worse hits, not terribly worse, right? Like I have 10 less alphas.
Then you're going to be on top.
You're going to win.
You're going to be on top.
You're going to win. It's just how it is. You're going to win. It's you have to go. You have to go. And how do you go? How do you go? Be willing to suck. Embrace the suck. I say this all the time in my insider circle. Embrace the suck. The best thing, guys, and I don't say this a lot publicly because I can't stand it internally. The best thing that could have happened to me was to lose this match, because now I'm pissed off and now I'm motivated to be the best shooter this year. It's the best thing that could have happened to me. I never lose interest in shooting. I never lose interest in coaching. I love it. I will probably do this the rest of my life. I really enjoy this game. I enjoy coaching this game. I really, really enjoy this game. But I took a break this year that I usually don't, and I felt like it helped me a little bit. I needed it. But coming off being sick, it's been kind of hard to go get the dry fire gun. I haven't wanted to pick it up.
Yeah.
I haven't wanted to pick it up. I just haven't wanted to. I just haven't been in the let's get better mode, right? I got a match coming up here on February 20th. I'm about to pick it up for that. I'll have at least 1 or 2 practice sessions before that match comes.
Yep, got the floor open.
I will not make the same mistakes because I'll feel better, obviously. Well, I hope I don't get sick again, but I will definitely feel better for the next match. But again, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter that I felt shitty. It didn't matter that I wasn't 100%. My fundamentals and everything took over.
They still have to be there. Yeah.
They took over, dude. I went into overdrive on a lot of those stages where I was like, all right, cool. Like, I did good, I guess. I don't know. It's just, I remember going back and looking at my draw on those stages. My classifier stage, I shot it in 5 seconds. I had a 160 draw on a target that was 4 yards. That's not my draw. Dude, I don't even have a 160 draw on a 25-yard piece of steel. Small popper. So it's like, okay, it's just what it is, right? Did I get down on myself? No, I didn't get mad. You saw me that whole match, dude. I was just like, it's all good, man. I still got a chance. I just, I shot terrible on 9, shot great on 10. I remember walking off 9 going, well, that might've just cost me the match. But guess what I didn't do? I didn't quit. I didn't leave that match going, or that stage going, I'm down. And I knew I was down at that point. I knew 100% I was down at that point because I was looking at the scores and I'm going, all right, cool. 9 sucked. That one hurt really bad. I think I had a 4 hit factor. Everybody else was a 7 or 8. That's a huge number, but I think it was only like a 60-point stage, or it was
a low point. Yes, low points. You didn't bleed that many points. Yeah,
I got lucky. I'll say that I got lucky. Right. I didn't, but again, when you're shooting against the best shooters in the world, right? Chris Tilley is one of the top shooters. Lescar, Ian McPherson. These guys are some of the best shooters in the world that we're shooting against. You can't drop 30 points. You just can't. It's very hard to come back from that, period. Like I remember listening to JJ and Christian kind of go back and forth a little bit on Instagram about how, JJ posted something about how he had a 1 point lead or a small lead or whatever. And Christian came back and was obviously, I'm pretty sure they were just joking around with each other about how he had he was only down by a slim margin of 1 point, right? Well, 1 point, that's nothing. You know what I mean? That's literally a Delta or a Charlie.
Crazy.
That's nothing. But if let's just say you drop 30 points, all of a sudden now the person that's 30 points down has to start hustling. They got to start working. They got to put the work in. They can't just sit back and hope the other guy makes a mistake. You got to push a little bit.
Yep.
So dude, we'll end the podcast on this subject right now, because it kind of just segued right into it. This is kind of something that happens to you a little bit. And in this match, I really heard it verbally out of your mouth when you were like, oh man, I got second on this stage. I got second on this stage. I got second on that stage. And you were getting a lot of seconds. And what did I say to you? That's awesome, dude. But why aren't you getting first? You got to push. You got to go. You got to push. You got to push. Now, what's the risk of pushing? Right? Let's go through that. What's the risk of pushing? You don't do well? Well, let me ask you a question. Are you good with a 3rd place finish?
No.
Okay. So then what's 3rd and 5th difference? A trophy?
Yeah.
No, this is okay. Dude, you have a different mindset like I do about this sport, but there are guys that have never played this game. So we're talking to those guys right now. First is all there is.
Yeah.
I know that some people don't understand that part. They don't get that, but nobody wants a 2nd place trophy.
No. I was telling Michael Guerrero at the sectional, when I had all those mag problems, I'm like, second place, eh? I go, this is going to go right in the freaking garbage.
No, but again, it's not and I don't want anyone to think that I am being disrespectful towards someone who wins a trophy. Dude,
Nope.
Top 3 is phenomenal. It really is. Like if I was to win top 3 at nationals at my level, you better damn well believe that I am going to be very pleased with myself with the talent that we're shooting against. There is some freaking amazing shooters out there right now. Guys are taking the sport to the next level that nobody knows about, right? But I'm not going to walk away from that and go, hell yeah, I'm good. Nope. I'm going to be pissed. I want to know what I didn't do that someone else did do.
And
what did I lack in my preparation that created something that a hole in my game while the heat was on, right? That's something that I don't talk about a whole lot, but my preparation for matches is very important to how I shoot matches. Well, my preparation for this match being sick was this much. So expectations shouldn't have been as high as they are, but every time I hit the field and get onto those stages, I expect to be the best. Mm-hmm. That's how it is if you truly want to win something.
Yep.
So when I hear, oh man, yeah, dude, I did good. I got second. I did not hear, I got to pick it up a little bit. I'm just a little bit off the pace. I didn't hear that. Now, that's not to say you didn't say that in your own head, but I'm the guy who has to hear that. Like me personally, I'm literally walking away and go, dude, get your shit together. You can't drop any more stupid ass points. You're the best out here. Let's go. Get it together. Work it. Even though I felt like shit, I was still like, let's go. I'm still the best shooter out here. I didn't, dude, and that's just the winner's mentality. That's not a cockiness. That you have to have that. I don't know any Super Bowl champion, any World Series champion that went out there and go, well, I hope we win, guys. The other team's pretty good. Like, get the hell out of here. People get so butthurt when you talk about being confident in yourself. I don't get it. You should be that way. By the way, I had one of my students he just got master, Jim Havens from Texas. And hold on, I want to make sure I quote him exactly because it was awesome. And I really enjoy this. And I know some people don't enjoy, trash talk, but I don't care. Hold on, let me find it right here. So one of my students, Jim Havens, goes, huge task done. Tom Castro, I'm coming for you. He just made master in carry-out. Or no, oh my God. I didn't see that. Just kidding. He just made GM.
Nice.
That is awesome. So since he's joined my program, he went from A class to master to GM. That is, man, I can't believe I didn't see that. For some reason, I thought he made master. Now I'm even happier. That is awesome. So that was one of his goals though, right? And he has busted his ass to get there. I don't even think he's been in the program for more than 6 months. He took a class with me in Texas and he told me, he said that was one of the things that was the coolest thing about that class was I got a lot of my Insider Circle guys came out and shot that class. Mm-hmm. For the first time. I met a lot of those guys for the first time. And he was like, this class solidified everything that you were talking about in those videos. He goes, those videos make so much sense now because I physically showed him how important they were. So now that he had all of and that was the other thing that was really cool about him coming to the class. He knew all those drills. So when he got up there, I could fine tune the things that he needed to get better instead of teaching him something completely foreign. So it was one of the things like when people ask me now, hey, do you think it's important to be in your Insider Circle? Yes, I do, because you're going to get a leg up. Now, like if I was to go to a JJ class, I would probably learn a lot more because I've already learned a lot of the things that he taught. So now when he teaches the same thing, if he taught the same thing, the critique would be better from him. Right. Yeah. It would be a better critique now because now it's like, oh, okay. It's just the details that I'm trying to fix. I'm not trying to learn a whole nother concept of shooting that I didn't know before. That's why a lot of people do better the second time they take a class with somebody, because that first time they're getting just bombarded with, it's like, here,
information.
take this physics book, figure it out. Right. Well, but or here, let me give you the exam before you study. Right. And then all of a sudden it's like, bam. And then you're like, okay, now here's a month to study. Now let's take the test and see how you do. You'll see a totally different result. Right. It's a totally different result. But yeah, man, that for me personally, that's one of the things that I would like to see change in your game a little bit is it's your mindset. Right. Change that mindset of second's not good enough. And what I mean by that is just stage runs alone, just little, right? Start with that. That's not even about, the winning the match. It's all right. All right. I took a second and I took a second. Okay. I got to get it. I got to go on this one. I got to win this one here. I got to win the next one, and it's not push. It's not push harder. Right. I mean, it is push harder, but it's not like I'm going to push so hard that I'm out of control. I'm not going to shoot outside of my level.
No, I get you.
Makes sense.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But at some point, I'll call it taking chances, but it's not. Right. It's just pushing the speed on the same target that you're going to get 2 alphas at a slower pace. Why aren't you doing that at a faster pace? Kind of attitude, right? Not you in general on this one. It's okay. I can shoot 2 alphas standing here. All right. I can shoot 2 alphas walking. Right. All right. I can shoot 2 alphas semi running. Right now. Oh, okay. I can shoot 2 alphas hauling ass. That's the progression that you'll eventually go through, but you have to be willing to suck at it. That, I think that's really, really important to kind of get across today.
Yep.
But yeah, man, congratulations, dude.
Thanks, man.
It's a nice trophy in the background over there.
Yeah, dude. I definitely appreciate you helping me and everything you've done, because that would not have been possible had it not been for you, for sure. 100%.
You're a great student, man. It's easy to coach you. It is. It's really easy to coach you. It's just, it's hard. You're at a point now where some of the stuff that I coach is hard. It's hard. Like a lot of the stuff that I'm coaching you now on is mental shit, but you're an easy person to coach mentally because of what you do for a living. Like you don't let stress get to you. So that's not something that I'm not worried about you forgetting a plan or any of that stuff, but it's to get you outside of that. You have to find it at your practices, that next level of speed.
Yes.
To the point where you feel so uncomfortable, like to the point where you're like, man, I don't know if I can execute this on every stage. Right. Kind of feeling. And then after you get there and you shoot like that for a little while and it becomes natural, all of a sudden you'll be like, I'm faster. I'm faster. But one last thing before we get out of here. One thing that I noticed that I noticed with a lot of shooters, there's one thing that can instantly make you better in this sport. It's the in-between non-shooting things that people don't do fast. And I'll bring up one that has zero to do with any kind of gun skills. Running from one array to another array. I do not see, I would say 99% of the people that walk off a stage are not breathing heavy. Why? Yeah. Now, does that mean they're in good shape? Some people like JJ Rakaz.
No.
Off huffing and puffing.
Yeah, no, but
I'm not usually going to walk off a stage huffing and puffing. I'm in pretty good shape for my age, but you're going to have these, when you walk off a stage and you don't feel like your legs are taxed or like you really put the effort in.
A level of effort. Yeah.
That's the number one thing I see when I watch people shoot. The faster you move, the shooting will be faster on its own. Right? How many times have we talked about that? That first step. Do you remember the first step drill that I teach all the time on the 5 pieces of steel? When you push off hard, all of a sudden the shooting goes compared to when you do a soft push, then it's pop.
It sets up your timing.
Right.
Yep.
Sets up your timing.
Yep.
So to me, that's one of the things that I want to see. That's the thing I need to see the most out of most people to really, you especially. We talked about that a little bit earlier this week. When you go back and watch that video, watch it and really pay attention to, all right, was I really burning? Was I really running at my top speed? Because again, some people look different. Like Max Michel doesn't look fast. but he's ridiculous. But he's got long legs, right? Like guys like that have long legs, and
he makes
like,
it.
but he doesn't look fast to me at all. But he's fast as hell. He's got some of the best. JJ looks fast. Like JJ actually, he looks fast when he runs. Has a different style. But it's like when you're watching these guys run, like Christian Seiler, he doesn't look fast to me at all, and he's super fast. Like his times are ridiculous. So again, it's those things where it's effort. It's all what you put into it. You know you got 15 seconds of glory. I talk about it all the time. You got 15 seconds of glory. What kind of glory do you want? You want to crash and burn or you want to go out there and put the work in and actually be the badass on the stage? So, all right, man. Where are you going next? What's your next matches?
Going to Puerto Rico to shoot the Caribbean Open. So I'll see JJ there and some other guys. And then we have Florida Open.
Yes, sir. So on the 20th.
That's end of February. Yeah.
So I've got a ton of matches planned. I've got a bunch of classes already scheduled. I have I'm going to be going to the Florida Open. Will be the only match I do until I travel. I don't think I have any matches before that. Obviously local matches that we do here. But,
and we got to get together because the Gator Classic and some Louisiana, there's maybe some travel stuff for both of us. So I got to see how that we can work that out.
Yeah, I'll give you a rundown of what I'm doing. I'm going to go to the Florida Open. Then I'm going to Texas for a class. Then I have a match on that class. I'm going to do a match/class. So we're doing the class on Saturday, and then Sunday we're going to run all the stages together as a group. So I'll walk through the stages. I'll basically shadow them, run the match with them, and then from there I go to the Mississippi Classic. I think is first. Then go to the.
Is that the Gator one? Is that the Gator Classic, or is that the? That's not the
Mississippi is something different. I don't have it pulled up, but yeah, Mississippi's a different match. The Gator Classic is in Louisiana, I think. The other one.
Yeah, that's November. Yeah.
And then I'm going to the South Carolina sectional. After the South Carolina sectional, the weekend after, I'm putting a class.
We have Area 6.
Area 6 before that. Oh, that's right. I forgot. All right.
Yeah.
So April's nuts. April is insane.
Yeah, I can't do what you're doing. Area 6 is good for me, but I can't do both of those.
Yeah, going to Area 6, then the sectional, then South Carolina, then the class is the weekend after, a 2-day class, but we're using the South Carolina sectional stages for my class. So I'm super excited about that because, anytime you get to run a stage over again,
that's huge.
It's awesome because
learn a lot.
I can really teach people, especially guys who have shot that match. I can really all right, look, run your stage plan. And then we break it down and fix it and show them where the mistakes and the times. And I really, really enjoy the stage planning part of my class. Then from there, I go to Illinois. I have a class in, I think it's the very end of March or May. Let me look real quick. I don't want to misquote that on the podcast here. That class is, I'll give you the exact dates. My class, Area 6 is the 9th and the 10th. The Texas class / match is the April 22nd and 23rd, 24th or 22nd or 23rd and 24th. Then the South Carolina sectional is the 30th and the 1st of April and May 1st. Then the class is on the 7th and 8th. Then I have the Mississippi Classic in May 14th and 15th. Oh my God, dude, this is insane. My schedule right now. Then I have the class in June in Illinois. It's going to be the 11th and 12th of June. So, and then if I can squeeze more stuff in there in between. So hopefully it's, this is a good year. It looks like for classes already. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, it's going to be a busy year. I hope I'm hoping that the primer and stuff starts coming around, but it doesn't look it. It doesn't look good at all. It looks like it's getting worse, honestly, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if they can keep up with us. I got enough to hold me over for the year, but I'm probably going to have to sacrifice some of my live practice stuff, and just keep going with the insider video practices and use my bullets for that instead of my own practices. But all right, guys. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the Insider Circle, feel free to do it. I'll post up the link in the bottom of the video here so you guys can check it out. I do all kinds of different things in there. I have a Mindset Monday that talks about a lot of the mindset stuff that we go through in this sport. And actually some of the things we touched on, I already have some videos about that are everyday struggles for every shooter that I've ever met, including myself. Then I have some shooting foundation where you go in there, and actually the shooting foundation to me is one of the things I'm the most proud of, because at the end of the day, this sport is 100% about the fundamentals. And then I do a Break It Down Friday. That's actually become a very big part of my videos because now I'm starting to really break down a lot of videos. If you've seen the videos that I've done on YouTube and on the Instagram where I've posted, where I do breakdown videos, I do one of those almost once a week on there. There is a lot of videos already on there. I do comparison videos, you name it, I do it. All right, guys, if you got any questions, hit me up and I'll see you on the range.